The Vraxians were the most feared beings in the galaxy. For hundreds of years, they attacked worlds, destroyed homes, and took whatever they wanted. They looked like giant lizards walking on two legs, with tough scales that could stop most weapons and sharp claws that could tear through metal. Their warships were massive black shapes that blocked out suns when they arrived above planets. Most other alien races in the Galactic Concord simply gave up when Vraxian ships appeared. They would hand over their resources and hope the Vraxians wouldn't kill too many of them. 17 different alien species had joined together in this Concord, but even together, they couldn't stop the Vraxians. Humans were different. When the Vraxians first attacked Earth colonies 10 years ago, humans fought back hard. They lost many battles, but they made the Vraxians pay a heavy price for each victory. After a while, the Vraxians started avoiding human worlds, not because they were afraid, but because it was easier to attack races that wouldn't fight back. Commander Greg Winters sat in the darkroom, watching dots move across the big screen. Each dot was a Vraxian ship. He had been tracking their movements for 5 years. His office on the moon base was small, with just a desk, a few chairs, and walls covered in maps of the galaxy. "They're changing their pattern again," said Lieutenant Amy Nichols, pointing at the screen. "See how they're moving toward the outer colonies." Greg nodded. He was a tall man with short gray hair and a scar across his cheek from an early battle with the Vraxians. "They're getting more careful, attacking places further from our main fleets." "Should we warn New Harvest?" "They're in that direction," Amy asked. Greg shook his head. "New Harvest is just farms. No military base, no valuable metals the Vraxians usually want. They should be safe." On the planet New Harvest, 8-year-old Lily Summers chased glowing bugs that looked like fireflies under the light of 2 moons. The bugs on New Harvest were bigger than Earth fireflies and glowed in different colors: blue, green, and purple. Lily's jar was already half full of the glowing creatures. "Lily, time to come inside," her father Joe called from their small house at the edge of the wheat fields. Joe was a farmer who managed the planet's hydroponic systems, special ways to grow food without soil. He was a big man with kind eyes and hands rough from working the land. Lily's mother, Kate, ran the colony school system. She was waiting at the door, her long brown hair tied back. "Look how many I caught," Lily said, running to show her parents the jar of glowing bugs. "That's wonderful, honey," Kate said, "but remember to let them go before bed. They need to be free." Lily nodded seriously. She always released her bugs before sleeping. Inside their home, the family ate dinner while watching news from Earth on their screen. The New Harvest colony was small, just 20,000 people who grew food for the more crowded inner planets. They had minimal defenses, just enough to handle local wildlife and the occasional small meteor. No one expected the colony to be a target. Later that night, after Lily went to bed, Joe and Kate sat on their porch looking at the stars. "The Harvest Festival is tomorrow," Joe said. "First good crop we've had all year." Kate leaned her head on his shoulder. "Lily is so excited about her dance performance." Neither of them noticed the slight darkening of stars in one part of the sky, where something large was moving to block them. The colony's small sensor array picked up the disturbance but classified it as a passing cloud. In orbit, the Vraxian scout ship completed its scan of the planet. The commander looked at the results with surprise. The readings showed rich deposits of rare minerals deep beneath the colony's main settlement, exactly the kind the Vraxian Empire needed for their new weapons. The commander sent a short message back to the Vraxian fleet. 6 hours later, 3 massive warships changed course and began moving toward New Harvest at high speed. On the planet below, Lily Summers slept peacefully, dreaming of dancing at tomorrow's festival. Her jar of glowing bugs sat empty on her windowsill, all its captives released to freedom as promised. None of the colonists knew that by this time tomorrow, their world would change forever. The morning of the Harvest Festival was bright and clear. Lily woke up early, excited to wear her new dress for the dance performance. She practiced her steps in front of the mirror while her mother Kate prepared breakfast. "Do you think a lot of people will watch us dance?" Lily asked, twirling around the kitchen. Kate smiled. "The whole colony will be there. Everyone loves the children's dance." Joe came in from checking the fields. "The town square is already being set up. There will be food, music, and games all day." After breakfast, the family walked to the center of the colony. New Harvest had one main town with houses and buildings made of white material that reflected the sunlight. Around the town were fields of wheat and corn that stretched for miles. The colony had been built 5 years ago, and now almost 20,000 people lived there. The festival began at noon. Children in colorful clothes danced in the square while adults clapped along. Farmers showed off their best crops. Booths served food made from the colony's harvest. For a few hours, everyone was happy and forgot about being so far from Earth. Lily was in the middle of her dance when the sky turned dark. At first, people thought it was just clouds. Then someone pointed up and screamed. 3 massive Vraxian warships had appeared, blocking the sun. They were huge black shapes with jagged edges that looked like teeth. Colony alarms began to sound. The emergency system announced, "This is not a drill. All colonists report to emergency shelters. This is not a drill." The festival broke apart as people ran in all directions. Parents grabbed their children. Colony guards tried to direct everyone to the underground bunkers. Joe grabbed Lily's hand. "We need to go now." Kate took Lily's other hand. "Stay with us, honey. Don't let go." They joined the crowd rushing toward the nearest shelter entrance. Above them, smaller ships began to drop from the big warships. These drop pods crashed into buildings and streets. When they opened, Vraxian soldiers came out. The Vraxians were even more terrifying up close. They stood 7 feet tall with greenish-gray scales and yellow eyes. They wore black armor and carried weapons that shot beams of blue light. When these beams hit people, they either fell down dead or became frozen in place. Joe, Kate, and Lily were almost to the shelter when a pod crashed nearby. The explosion knocked them down. When Joe looked up, he saw they were separated from the shelter by fallen buildings and fires. "We need another way," he shouted over the noise of screams and weapons. Kate pointed to a side street. The back entrance, through the supply tunnels. They turned and ran, but more pods were falling everywhere. The colony's few defense guns fired back, but they were not strong enough to stop the invasion. As they ran through the burning streets, a large group of colonists was being rounded up by Vraxians. The aliens were sorting people, checking them quickly and putting them in different groups. "They're taking workers," Joe whispered as they hid behind a broken wall. "Anyone with skills they can use." In the chaos of running people and fighting, Lily's hand slipped from her mother's grasp. The crowd pushed between them. "Lily!" Kate screamed, trying to push back against the flow of people. "Lily!" But the crowd was too strong. Joe pulled Kate into a doorway as a Vraxian patrol marched past. When they looked again, Lily was nowhere to be seen. "We have to find her," Kate said, tears streaming down her face. Joe nodded, his face pale with fear. "We will, I promise." Across the colony, Lily had been pushed down a drainage ditch by the crowd. She crawled into a large pipe and huddled there, shaking with fear and calling quietly for her parents. The colony's emergency beacon activated, sending distress signals into space. The message was simple: New Harvest under Vraxian attack. Civilian colony. No military presence, requesting immediate assistance. But the nearest Earth Defense Force ship was 3 days away at maximum speed. By nightfall, the colony was fully under Vraxian control. Fires burned across the settlement, and the screams had mostly stopped. Now there was just the sound of Vraxian orders being barked and the heavy footsteps of patrols searching for survivors. Lily stayed hidden in the drainage pipe all night. She was cold and scared, but remembered what her father had taught her about staying quiet when there was danger. Sometimes Vraxian patrols passed nearby, their heavy footsteps making the ground shake. As morning came, Lily heard someone moving near her hiding place. She pushed herself further back into the pipe, trying not to make any noise. "Hello? Is anyone there?" A man's voice called softly. "I'm a colony guard. I'm here to help." Lily stayed silent, unsure if it was a trick. The man knelt down and peered into the pipe. He wore the blue uniform of the New Harvest Security Force, though it was now torn and dirty. "It's okay. My name is Paul Rivera. I'm looking for survivors." "How do I know you're not working with them?" Lily asked, her voice small. Paul smiled gently. "Smart girl. Here, look." He showed her his badge and colony ID card. "I'm trying to find people and get them to the emergency bunker in the hills. The Vraxians haven't found that one yet." After a moment, Lily crawled forward. Paul helped her out of the pipe. "I'm Lily Summers. I lost my mom and dad in the crowd. We'll try to find them," Paul promised. "But first we need to get somewhere safe. Can you walk?" Lily nodded. She was dirty and tired, but not hurt. Paul led her through the ruins of the colony, staying in shadows and hiding whenever Vraxian patrols came near. The beautiful white buildings were now black with scorch marks. Many had collapsed completely. The fields beyond the town were burning. "Why are they doing this?" Lily whispered as they hid behind a fallen wall. Watching Vraxians herd a group of colonists toward their ships. "They want our planet's resources," Paul explained quietly. "And they want workers. They take people who have useful skills. My dad runs the hydroponic farms. My mom is a teacher," Lily said, tears forming in her eyes. Paul put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "If they have skills, the Vraxians will keep them alive. We'll find them, I promise." They moved carefully toward the edge of the colony where the forest began. The emergency bunker was hidden 2 miles into the woods, built into a hillside, and covered with plants so it couldn't be seen from the air. They were almost to the tree line when a Vraxian patrol appeared from around a destroyed building. There were 5 of them, heavily armed, and led by a larger Vraxian wearing red armor instead of black. Paul pulled Lily behind a broken machine and put his finger to his lips. They stayed perfectly still as the patrol passed just a few feet away. When the Vraxians seemed to be gone, Paul whispered, "Okay, let's go. Quick and quiet." They stood up and made a dash for the trees. They had almost made it when a harsh voice called out, "Stop or be shot." The Vraxian patrol had circled back. The leader in red armor pointed a weapon at them. Paul pushed Lily behind him and raised his hands. "Please," he said. "She's just a child. Let her go." The Vraxians moved closer, surrounding them. The leader studied them with cold yellow eyes. "I am Commander Vexkar," the leader said in rough human language. "You are colony security." He pointed at Paul's uniform. "Yes," Paul admitted, "but I'm not armed. We're just trying to find safety." What none of them noticed was the small drone hovering high above them. It was one of many surveillance drones the Galactic Concord had deployed to monitor Vraxian activities. Its camera focused on the scene below, recording everything. Commander Vexkar walked closer and looked at Lily. "Human young," he said, sounding almost curious. "So small." "Please," Paul said again, keeping himself between Lily and the Vraxian. "Our laws, and the laws of the Galactic Concord, protect children in warfare. Let her go, and I'll tell you whatever you want to know." Vexkar seemed to consider this for a moment. Then he looked at his soldiers and made a sharp gesture with his hand. 2 Vraxians grabbed Paul, pulling him away from Lily. He struggled, shouting, "No, leave her alone." The surveillance drone zoomed in as Vexkar approached Lily, who stood frozen in fear. The Vraxian commander drew a glowing blue blade from his belt. He studied the human child one more time, tilting his head as if solving a puzzle. "Human laws mean nothing to Vraxians," he said. Paul broke free for a moment and threw himself toward Lily, but a Vraxian weapon fired, and he fell to the ground, wounded but still conscious. The drone captured everything that happened next. It transmitted the footage to the nearest relay station before Vraxian jammers could block the signal. Within hours, that footage would reach Earth. The video from the surveillance drone reached Earth 12 hours later. It showed everything. Paul's attempt to protect Lily, his pleas, and Vexcar's cold response. It showed Lily's brave face as she stood alone. It showed what the Vraxian commander did next. The footage went directly to Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva. Admiral Samantha Boyd watched it in her office with her senior staff. No one spoke as the video played on the large screen. When it ended, the room remained silent. Admiral Boyd was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. She had fought Vraxians before and negotiated with them when ordered to, but something had changed in her face now. "Get me the president," she said quietly. Within an hour, President Frank Martinez had called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Parliament. All 200 members were present, either in person or through secure video links. This was unusual. Normally, at least some members were traveling or unable to attend. The chamber was a large half-circle with rows of seats rising up like a bowl. At the center stood a podium where speakers addressed the Parliament. Behind it was a massive screen that now showed the Earth flag, a blue field with all the continents in white. President Martinez walked the podium. He was a serious man who rarely showed strong emotion. Today, his hands were shaking. "Members of Parliament," he said, "I have called you here to witness something. What you are about to see was recorded yesterday on the colony of New Harvest." The flag on the screen was replaced by the drone footage. The entire Parliament watched in stunned silence. When it ended, President Martinez spoke again. New Harvest was a farming colony. No military value, no strategic importance, just families growing food. He paused. The girl's name was Lily Summers. She was 8 years old. A woman in the front row covered her face with her hands. Others sat in shocked silence. "For years, we have followed Galactic Concord rules of engagement," Martinez continued. "We have fought defensively. We have negotiated when possible. We have shown restraint." His voice hardened. "That ends today." Admiral Boyd stepped forward. "The Vraxians have attacked our colonies before. Each time, we responded according to Concord guidelines. Proportional force, military targets only. We believe this was the right approach." She looked up at the members of Parliament. "We were wrong." President Martinez pressed a button on the podium. The screen changed to show a document titled Directive Omega. "This protocol was created but never implemented," he explained. "It authorizes full military response without Concord limitations. It activates all our reserve forces and technologies. It is, in simple terms, a declaration of total war." A Parliament member stood up. "Mr. President, the Concord will object. We sign treaties." "I am not asking for permission," Martinez said firmly. "I am informing you of a decision already made. The Vraxians have shown us who they are. Now we will show them who we are." The vote was quick and unanimous. Directive Omega was approved. Within hours, things began to happen across Earth and its colonies. Hidden military bases activated. Ships that officially didn't exist left their docks. Soldiers who had returned to civilian life received simple messages calling them back to duty. In a high school in Ohio, Eric Coleman was teaching physics when his phone vibrated. The message read, "Directive Omega activated. Report immediately." Eric looked at his students, suddenly seeing them differently. These children were like Lily. They deserved a galaxy where they could be safe. "Class dismissed early today," he said, picking up his bag. "There's something I need to do." Across Earth, similar scenes played out as humanity prepared for war. Not a limited conflict with rules and restraints, but something the galaxy had never seen before. In orbit around Neptune, hiding behind the planet's magnetic field, a ship called EDF Retribution dropped its cloaking shields. It was the largest warship humans had ever built, with weapons that violated multiple Concord treaties. Until now, it had never been used. Captain Olivia Ramirez gathered her crew on the bridge. "You've all seen the footage," she said. "You know what they did to one of our children. Now we show them what happens when humanity decides that enough is enough." The Vraxians had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, but they had never faced an enemy with nothing left to lose. The Vraxians didn't notice anything unusual at first. Their ships continued raiding planets. Their commanders sent regular reports of successful missions. For 2 weeks after the attack on New Harvest, everything seemed normal. Then one of their outposts went silent. Vraxian mining station Ket-9 was built into an asteroid in a remote system. It had strong defenses and 300 elite warriors. One day it was sending routine messages. The next day, nothing. When a patrol ship arrived to check, the station was simply gone. Not damaged or destroyed, completely missing, along with the asteroid it had been built on. The patrol ship found only small pieces of debris floating in space. Their sensors picked up a short message repeating on all frequencies. "This is for Lily." The Vraxian High Command was confused but not worried. One station could be lost to many things: a natural disaster, a technical failure, or perhaps a lucky attack by some Concord forces. Then 2 more outposts went silent on the same day. Alarm spread through the Vraxian Empire. The High Command ordered all forces to be on alert. Ships traveled in groups for safety. Commanders reported strange sensor readings, ships that appeared for a moment and then vanished from their screens. Commander Vexkar, who had led the attack on New Harvest, was now in charge of a supply base near Vraxian territory. He increased patrols and put his best warriors on guard duty. He didn't believe humans could be a serious threat. They had always followed rules and limitations in previous fights. He was wrong. One night, all communications at his base suddenly stopped working. The power went out seconds later. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows through the halls. Vexkar grabbed his weapons and ordered his guards to check the perimeter. None of them reported back. Vexkar moved through the dark hallways of his base, hearing strange sounds, soft thuds, occasional clicks, but no voices or weapon fire. Where were his warriors? Where was the enemy? He turned a corner and found 5 of his guards on the floor. They weren't wounded or burned by weapons. They simply weren't breathing. He knelt to examine one and noticed a tiny dart in the guard's neck. A soft voice spoke from the shadows. "The poison affects only Vraxian biology. Other species are immune." Vexkar spun around, weapon raised. A human stood there, a woman in a black uniform with no markings or rank symbols. Her face was calm as she looked at him. "Do you remember New Harvest?" she asked. "One of many colonies we raided," Vexkar said. "Why would I remember it?" "A girl named Lily Summers," the woman continued. "You killed her while she stood brave and alone. Do you remember now?" Vexkar did remember, but showed no reaction. Many die in war. She wasn't a soldier. She was a child. The woman's voice remained quiet, which somehow made her more frightening than if she had shouted. "You could have let her go." "Weakness," Vexkar said with disgust. "Vraxians are not weak. Neither are humans," the woman replied. "But you never understood us. You thought our restraint was weakness. You thought we followed rules because we had to." She stepped closer. "We chose to follow rules. Now we choose not to." For the first time, Vexkar felt something new. Not fear, exactly, but doubt. "What do you want?" "Justice," she said simply. Across Vraxian space, similar scenes played out. Human special forces moved like ghosts through Vraxian defenses. Ships appeared from nowhere to strike, and then vanish again. Computer systems failed without warning. Supply lines were cut. The Vraxian High Command gathered on their home planet. Elder Commander Krasthar, oldest and wisest of their leaders, studied the reports with growing concern. "We have lost 23 outposts and 8 major warships in just 10 days, he told the other commanders, all with the same message left behind. "This is for Lily. Humans are weak. argued Commander Drez. "Their colonies fall easily. Their ships run from our attacks." "No," Krasthar said slowly. "They were holding back. All this time, they were holding back." He looked around at the other Vraxian leaders. "And now, they are not." For the first time in the history of their empire, the Vraxians began to worry. 1 month after the attack on New Harvest, the 17 species of the Galactic Concord called an emergency meeting. Representatives gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral planet of Centauri Prime. The hall was a huge room with a round table in the center, where each species had one seat. The human seat had been empty for weeks. Earth had cut most communication with their allies after activating Directive Omega. "The humans have gone too far," said the Thoraxian representative, a large insect-like being with 4 arms. "They are breaking all our treaties and laws of warfare." "Did you see what the Vraxians did to their child?" asked the Aldari speaker, a slim blue-skinned being known for peaceful ways. "Can we truly blame them?" As they argued, the doors opened. Ambassador Daniel Clark walked in. He was a tall man in a simple black suit. The room went quiet as he took his seat. "Ambassador Clark," the Concord speaker said, "we are concerned about Earth's actions. You have launched attacks across Vraxian space without consulting the Concord. You are using forbidden weapons and tactics." Clark placed a small device on the table. It projected an image in the air above them, not the violent footage from New Harvest, but a school picture of Lily Summers, smiling with missing front teeth. "This is Lily," Clark said simply. She was 8 years old. She liked to dance and collect glowing bugs. Her mother taught school, and her father grew food that fed people on 3 worlds. The room remained silent. "For years, we followed your rules," Clark continued. "We limited our weapons. We attacked only military targets. We tried to negotiate with the Vraxians." His voice grew harder. "And while we did, they killed our people and took our worlds. They showed us no mercy, and we still showed restraint." He stood up. "Earth is not asking for your help or your permission. We will handle the Vraxians ourselves. If you try to interfere, we will consider you to be on their side." With that, he picked up the projector and walked out, leaving stunned silence behind him. Meanwhile, the Vraxian Empire was in chaos. Their ships were being hunted across the galaxy. Human forces seemed to know the location of every secret base and supply route. The Vraxians had never experienced anything like this before. On the Vraxian throne world of Vrakis Prime, Elder Commander Krasthar called his war council together. The council chamber was deep underground for safety. 20 of the highest-ranking Vraxian commanders sat around a stone table carved with the history of their conquests. "Our empire is falling," Krasthar said bluntly. "In 6 weeks, we have lost 40% of our fleet and 30 major bases." "How are they finding us?" demanded Commander Scar. "How do they know our movements and locations?" Krasthar looked tired, something no Vraxian leader had ever shown before. "They were watching us. All these years, as we thought ourselves the masters of the galaxy, they were studying us, learning our ways, finding our weaknesses. They could have struck at any time. But they didn't. Until we killed 1 human child," said a younger commander. "Yes," Krasthar agreed. "That was our mistake. Not attacking humans. We have done that before and survived their response. Our mistake was showing them our true nature. We showed them that we would kill their young ones without hesitation." He looked around the table. "And now they are showing us their true nature in return." Far away, the EDF Retribution moved silently through space toward the Vraxian home system. On its bridge, Captain Olivia Ramirez studied the tactical displays showing the positions of Vraxian defenses. "They've pulled back most of their fleet to protect their core worlds," she told her officers. "They think that will save them." Her second-in-command, Jack Nelson, looked at the displays. "Their home system defenses are still strong, Captain. They have 300 ships and orbital platforms there." Olivia nodded. "And we have something they don't." "What's that?" Jack asked. "Nothing left to lose," she replied. "Prepare the main weapon system. It's time the Vraxians learned what happens when humanity decides that enough is enough." Across human space, other ships were also moving into position. For the first time in history, the entire human fleet was acting together with one purpose: to end the Vraxian threat forever. The battle for the Vraxian home system lasted 3 days. When it began, the Vraxians had 300 ships and 20 orbital defense platforms. They believed their homeworld was safe. They were wrong. Human ships appeared everywhere at once, using technology the Vraxians had never seen before. The EDF Retribution led the attack, its main weapon cutting through Vraxian ships like they were made of paper. Other human vessels used strange energy fields that shut down Vraxian systems without firing a shot. By the 3rd day, the Vraxian fleet was destroyed or scattered. The orbital platforms were silent. Human ships surrounded the planet Vrakis Prime, but they did not bomb the surface or land troops. Instead, they waited. Captain Olivia Ramirez stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the Vraxian homeworld on her screen. It was a harsh planet with red oceans and black mountains. Her weapons officer waited for the order to fire. "We could end them all right now," the officer said quietly. Olivia shook her head. "That's what they would do. We're not them." She pressed a button on her chair. "Attention Vraxian High Command. This is Captain Ramirez of the Earth Defense Force. Your military is defeated. Your empire has fallen. But we are not here to destroy your species." On the planet below, Elder Commander Krasvar and the remaining Vraxian leaders listened to the message in their underground bunker. "You have 1 hour to surrender," Ramirez continued. "If you do, your civilian population will be spared. If you don't, we will do what you would have done to us. The choice is yours." Krasvar looked at the other leaders. For the first time in their history, the Vraxians faced complete defeat. Their empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, had been broken in just 2 months. "We must fight to the end," said Commander Scar. "It is our way." Krasvar shook his head. "Our way has led us here." He looked at the images of their ruined fleet. "The humans could have killed us all already. Instead, they offer us a choice. That is something we never gave them." In the end, the vote was close, but Krasvar's view won. The Vraxians sent their surrender message to the human fleet. 6 months later, a small ceremony took place on the colony of New Harvest. The town had been rebuilt, though many colonists had not returned. The fields were green again, and new buildings stood where the old ones had been destroyed. In the town square, President Martinez stood with Joe and Kate Summers. They had survived the attack by hiding in the ruins, though they had believed their daughter was dead until they saw the footage that had sparked the war. "Today we dedicate this memorial," Martinez said, "not just to Lily, but to all who died here, and to what they taught us." He unveiled a simple stone statue. It showed a small girl standing brave and straight, with her hand reaching out. Words carved on the base read, "Lily Summers, who showed us that the line between restraint and justice must be drawn at the innocence of a child." Kate touched the stone face of her daughter. "She would have been 9 next week," she said softly. Across the galaxy, things had changed. The Vraxian Empire no longer existed. Their military had been disbanded, their ships taken away. On their homeworld, a new government of moderates worked to rebuild their society around something other than conquest. Other species who had feared the Vraxians now looked at humans differently. The Galactic Concord had new rules of warfare that all members had agreed to, rules that provided stronger protection for civilians, especially children. On the edge of human space, a small outpost picked up a distress call from a new species making contact for the first time. They were under attack by raiders and needed help. The outpost sent a message to Earth, and ships were immediately dispatched. The human captains had their orders: protect the innocent, stop the raiders, and make it clear to everyone in the galaxy that some lines should never be crossed. As one captain told her crew before they arrived, We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for a simple idea that in this vast, cold universe, children should be safe. And if you threaten them, you'll learn what humans are truly capable of. The galaxy would remember what had happened when the Vraxians killed one human child. It would remember the hell that followed. And for centuries to come, the most feared words any aggressor could hear would be, "The humans are coming."